Good evening and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Kettering Planning Commission for Monday, March 20th, 2023. The meeting will be televised as usual on Miami Valley Cable Council, Cable Channel 6, and streamed live over the internet at mvcc.net. It will also be recorded and available for later viewing on mvcc.net. I would like to thank the Miami Valley Cable Council for televising and taping tonight's meeting. Since this meeting is both audio and videotaped to form a complete record for possible appeal to City Council and/or the courts, it is important that anyone who wishes to address the Commission to come to the lectern, speak into the microphone, and give their name and address for the record. The Planning Commission is a volunteer, independent body appointed by the Council, whose mission is to hear all bodies involved and subsequently make a motion to approve, deny, continue, or recommend the application. All action by the Commission can be appealed to the City Council. I'd like to start by introducing the members of the Planning Commission who are all present tonight. To your extreme right, my left, is Ken Lackey, Assistant Secretary. Next is Carol Fisher, our Secretary. She is followed by Connie Gaw, our Recording Secretary. I'm Ray Waskey, the Chairman. And next to my right, your left, is Vice Chairman Don Rethman. We also do have a vacancy on the Planning Commission, which the city should be advertising for soon. Members of the city staff present tonight are Ryan Holmesy, our city planner. Turning to tonight's agenda, the first item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of the Commission's meeting of March 6, 2023. But before we approve these, I would like to mention that at our meeting of March 6th, we voted to move approval of the minutes of the February 6th meeting to tonight's meeting because we didn't have a quorum present to approve those minutes. So I would like to ask for a motion to amend the agenda to add approval of the minutes of the February 6th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we amend the agenda to add approval of the minutes of the February 6th meeting of 2023. Mrs. Gall, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Rethman?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Lackey?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Waskey?
Oops. Yes, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun there, Ken. Next, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Commission's meeting of February 6, 2023?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of February 6, 2023. Mrs. Gall, please call the roll.
Mr. Rethman?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Lackey?
Yes.
Mr. Waskey?
Yes. Finally, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Commission's meeting of March 6, 2023?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the March 6th meeting. Mrs. Gaw, please call the roll.
Mr. Rethman?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Lackey?
Abstain.
Mr. Waskey?
Yes. And I would like to add one suggestion to city staff. When the staff presents the zoning amendments to the city council, which are included in the minutes of March 6th, that you give a presentation that clearly tells them which portions that the city planning commission did not approve, just to make it totally crystal clear to them. They may miss that subtlety when they're reading the minutes.
Yeah, we would include the planning commission gave this recommendation with these following changes, and those changes cover these sections. We would include that in the presentation.
Okay, I assumed you would, but I just want to make sure we stress that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Holmesy. So, turning to new business, the second item on the agenda is a request for lot consolidation replat at 4340 and 4350 Wilmington Pike, planning case number 23-008. And we'll begin with staff's presentation. Mr. Holmesy.
Thank you, Chairman. This item, the applicant requested be removed from the agenda. There's some items that they're going to have to, there's some items the applicant and the adjoining property owner need to work through, so they're not quite ready to bring this forward yet. And I found that out late in the afternoon on Friday, so I apologize. We'll just ask for a motion to either take it off the agenda for another meeting or continue it. I don't know which one makes the most sense.
Okay, date uncertain for
Yeah,
continuation.
I don't know for sure when it'll be ready. It might not be at the next meeting, so it might be better to just remove it from the agenda for now and
Okay.
bring it back later.
Okay. So, following Mr. Holmesy's recommendation, could I have a motion to withdraw this from tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to remove item number 2, lot consolidation replat of 4340 and 4350 Wilmington Pike from tonight's agenda. Mrs. Gaw, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Lackey,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mr. Rathman,
Yes.
Mr. Waski.
Yes. So moving on to item number 3 on our agenda. This is a request for a replat or a lot consolidation / replat at 500 Canterbury Drive, planning case number 23009. And again, we'll begin with staff's presentation. Mr. Holmesy.
Thank you, Chairman. This is a very straightforward request. A similar replat / lot consolidation was done at the property immediately to the west last year. So what this involves is 500 Canterbury. It's a property that has just one house kind of that straddles the two property lines there. They want to essentially delete that lot line in the middle, and that's all they want to do. As a part of that, we did the normal review of our subdivision regulations and of our zoning standards. This property is zoned residential estate B, where the minimum lot sizes are 20,000 square feet and the minimum lot frontages are 100. This lot consolidation will not create any nonconformities associated with the zoning code. And when looking at our subdivision requirements, the plat meets all of those requirements except the one standard that they need to certify the record plan before the signatures are provided. And then the second item they need to fix is, if you notice, they included the setback lines on the plat that are based on the original plat when this area was originally subdivided many decades ago. And we always ask people to remove those setback lines because they just generate confusion in the long run. So they've been made aware of all of those recommended changes. And no one is here this evening to speak, but staff does have a recommendation. But before I get to that, I would ask if you have any questions.
Okay, does anyone from the commission have any questions for Mr. Holmesy?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you. Is the applicant present to address the commission?
No one is here this evening, but I've spoken with both the property owner and or I sent the information to the property owner and the applicant before the meeting, and there were no concerns with the recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much. So, while this is not a public hearing, the commission is always interested in hearing from anyone in the audience who may wish to address us on this matter. If anyone in the audience wishes to address the commission, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, staff recommendations.
Thank you, Chairman. The staff recommendation is that the Planning Commission motion to approve the record plan, case number PC-23-009, with the following conditions which must be met prior to the provision of Planning Commission signatures. Number 1, the setback lines be removed from the record plan, and number 2, the plat drawing be sealed by the surveyor.
Okay, thank you. Commission comments, discussion, last chance? Okay, none, I have none either. Mrs. Fisher, I believe you have a motion on this.
Mr. Chair, I believe it's
I believe
my
it's-
motion.
It is Mr. Rethman's motion, my mistake, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have a motion for the Hills-Dale Subdivision 2A, Lot 123 and 124. It is a replat. Whereas an application has been received from Donovan Benson of BA Land Professionals, agent for the owners of 500 Canterbury Drive, Dayton, Ohio, 45429, requesting approval of a replat of 500 Canterbury Drive. This plat would take two existing lots and replat them into a single lot containing 1.1148 acres. And whereas this request constitutes approval of a final record plan for the newly described lot, and whereas the Planning Commission has reviewed the facts surrounding this request, including an oral and written report by city staff, which is incorporated herein, I move that the applicant's request for approval of a final record plan for the Hills-Dale Subdivision 2A, Lot 123 and 124 plat be approved with the following conditions, which must be met prior to the provision of Planning Commission signatures. Number 1, the setback lines be removed from the record plan. Number 2, the plat drawing be sealed by the surveyor. This concludes my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rathman. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. For approval. Mrs. Gall, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Rathman?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Lackey?
Yes.
Mr. Woski?
Yes. The motion is passed. Our last item on the agenda is audience participation. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the commission on any item not on tonight's agenda is invited to come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll move on to other business not on the written agenda. Signing of plats. Mr. Holmesy.
We have one plat to be signed. It's the record plan that was, I believe, approved in December last year for the Meyer property for that northern part of their parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Communications and reports.
I don't have anything new to report. When we get to the informational session, I'll kind of explain that process a little bit more, but there's nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. And finally, Planning Commission comments.
I have none.
I don't have
Mr. Lackey, none? Mr. Rithman?
No comments.
And I have none. So that takes care of our main business. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be set for Monday, April 3rd at 7 p.m. Now, following this meeting, the Planning Commission will reconvene for an informational session on short-term rentals. This meeting is adjourned, and the time is, I can't see the clock from here, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time.